In 2 of my last 3 videos, I have talked about young players, and overall I was talking pretty negatively in those videos. I talked about why Kyle Kuzma is vastly overrated, and I reacted to Bleacher Report's awful Top 23 Under 23 article. In those 2 videos I mentioned a player over Kyle Kuzma, which was controversial, and in my Top 23 Under 23 video I did my own ranking, and where I ranked a certain player was also one of the biggest controversies in the comment section. So based on the comments on those videos, I have come to the conclusion that this young player that I'm referring to is the most underrated young player in the NBA. Now, I won't be talking about Kyle Kuzma anymore because that bridge has been crossed, and I'm not going to talk about his 2K rating because apparently, even though I listed multiple reasons why Kuzma is overrated, people who disagree with me only clung to the 2K thing, so I just won't mention it because clearly it triggers people. But anyways, enough bullshit. The player that I am talking about is Jaren Jackson Jr. Okay, first of all, if you like the new intro, go follow Darwin on Twitter as well as subscribe to his YouTube channel. He is a fantastic graphic designer and I very much appreciate the revamped intro. Anyways, before we talk about why Jaren Jackson Jr. is underrated, let's first talk about who he is, because he's so underrated I'm betting half of you barely even know who he is. Jaren Jackson Jr. in his rookie season played 58 games and averaged nearly 14 points per game, 1 steal and 1.5 blocks, shooting 50% from the field and 36% from 3 on about 2.5 attempts a game. Now you probably noticed that I did not mention rebounds, we will get to that. But first, Jaren is a guy that is way better than his box score would indicate, which is pretty impressive because he looks pretty good in the box score. Jaren Jackson Jr., to put it simply, has the potential to be the greatest defensive player ever. And that is not hyperbole. Jackson is a 6'11 center with a 7'4 wingspan. He is a phenomenal shot blocker, averaging 3 blocks per game in college, averaging 2 per 36 in his rookie season, and I fully expect him to be towards the top of the league in blocks for multiple seasons. But his defensive game goes way past shot blocking. My man Triple J is 19 years old and he can already defend all 5 positions comfortably. On top of his high IQ and long arms, Jaren is one of the fastest big men in the NBA. He has the size, he has the athleticism, but most importantly, he has the effort and the basketball IQ to be the greatest defensive player ever. I've heard something like this before, and it's something I definitely believe in. Defense is 70% effort and 30% physical attributes. You could also say that smarts gets a percentage there, but either way, Jaren checks both of those boxes easily. He has everything required to be a multiple all-defensive player, multiple defensive player of the year, one of the greatest defenders of all time, and potentially the greatest defender of all time. Jaren Jackson Jr. is essentially what would be the result if you morphed Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green into one defensive player. Need him to block a shot? Jaren's got it. Need him to slow down a big man? He's got it. Need him to switch onto a point guard and contain him? Jackson's got it. I cannot express how good Jackson currently is at defense, and I especially can't express how good he has the potential to be. Now, before we go into the offensive side of the ball, it's important to address Jaren's big glaring issue with his game. Rebounding. Jaren averaged less than 5 boards a game, and in his per 36, his rebounding numbers only go up to 6.5. And he doesn't get the excuse of playing alongside a big-time rebounding center, because Marc Gasol has never been a great rebounding center, averaging 8 with the Grizz this year, and maybe you could explain it away with them trading for Valanciunas because he averaged 11 a game with the Grizz, but Jaren was averaging the same number of rebounds with Jonas as he was Gasol. There are 2 reasons why I think Jaren struggles as a rebounder. 1, he's skinny. His only real flaw defensively is that he can sometimes be bullied by stronger centers down low, and rebounding wise, he has the vertical and the height and length, but he needs to bulk up to help him be more physical in the paint. And the second reason is, even though I just said he can sometimes be outmatched physically against some centers, he should be playing center. So far, he's been pretty much playing power forward. If he was the main man in the middle all season, I could picture him being around 7 or so rebounds a game without going to per 36. And it's worth mentioning that he averages nearly 2 offensive rebounds a game per 36, and being a good offensive rebounder is a good sign that the rebounding instincts are there. He just needs to get stronger and play his actual position, which will keep him inside the paint more. With those changes, he might not be Andre Drummond, but I think he could get up to 9 boards a game. But anyways, let's talk about Jaren's offensive game. Per 36, Jaren averaged 19 points per game as a rookie, and I don't have a problem using per 36 because I fully believe that he should have been playing that much, and I fully believe that he was 19 points a game good on offense last year. It was just a matter of circumstances. Gerren Jackson is a really good 3-point shooter, better than his percentage and amount of attempts would suggest. And he's a fantastic ball handler, has shown some great touch inside, and with some more meat on his bones, he could be a reliable post threat. Now, I will be the first to admit that I did not watch a crazy amount of Grizzlies games last year. I would say probably 20-ish. So I decided to hit up the only Grizzlies fan that I have ever met and likely will ever meet, Rudy St. Clair. And I asked him how Jaren was utilized on offense with Memphis this year, and he essentially replied with a rant about how terrible of a coach JB Bickerstaff was, and as a result, how underutilized Jaren was. Before I explain that, I guess I'm feeling like shouting people out today because Rudy was nice enough to give me some answers here. I suppose I should shout him out for helping me with all this stuff. Rudy hosts the Hustle Points podcast. He is a solid podcaster. I've been on his show twice and had 2 really fun interviews with him, and he has also posted 1 NBA video, and it's an absolute banger, and I think he plans to post more in the future. So go subscribe to him, listen to the podcast I'm on if you want to hear those, and listen to the other ones. Link will be in the description. Anyways, JB Bickerstaff, according to Rudy, would routinely take Jaren out of the game every time that he committed a foul. 2 minutes into the game, if he fouled someone, Jaren sat. And speaking of that, that is another weakness in his game. He averaged 3 fouls a game per 36, needs to get that down to like 4 to 3, but taking a young dude out constantly is a great way to fuck up his flow. According to Rudy, Triple J was often unable to get into the flow of the offense due to this, and outside of that, Jaren was only taking 2.5 threes a game, and that is entirely too low. He is a good shooter, and at center, his defenders will be uncomfortable stepping out to defend him. Somehow, he was taking less threes a game last season than Rajon Rondo, and he was also rarely getting used as a roll man in favor of Gasol and Valanciunas, and when he was getting touches, it was always in the post, which is not his strength offensively. Most of his scoring came from dump-off passes, the occasional pick and pop, an offensive rebound or 2, forced post-ups, or a fast break. This guy, at his size and speed with his athleticism, is deserving of multiple possessions as the pick and roll man, as well as more than 2 pick and pops a game. He also needs more opportunities to use his ball handling ability. I think he can attack a defense similar to Pascal Siakam if given the proper opportunity. Luckily, JB Bickerstaff is no longer the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, and the new guy seems to be good with young guys, having helped the Grizzlies Summer League team win a championship without their number 2 pick Ja Morant. And with the Grizzlies no longer having really any expectations and no longer having Mike Conley or Marc Gasol, I think the direction of the team is clear. Last season, for the first 30 or so games, the Grizzlies were trying to be competitive in the ridiculous Western Conference. And when you're doing that and your 19-year-old rookie is fucking up, you're less inclined to keep him on the floor. This year, the Grizzlies are fully expected to be a bottom feeder in the Western Conference, and the Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. pick and roll should be the foundation of the offense. So given an opportunity next year with more minutes, more lenient coaching, and an offense that features him more, I think Triple J in his second season could average 27 and 2 blocks on solid shooting splits. And in the long term, I expect Jaren to be an 18 to 23 point scorer every season, averaging 8 to 10 rebounds, averaging 1.5 to 3 blocks, shoot well from the field, and most importantly, be one of the 3 best defensive players in the NBA. And as for why I think he's underrated, underrated, I think he's kind of forced to be by default. Jaren is on the Grizzlies, the team that has the lowest value in the NBA and thus the least attention. Nobody talks about this team, and when I see people talk about the best young players in the league, Jaren's name often goes unsaid. But luckily, a popular young player is heading to Memphis, one with incredible vision, and most importantly, a player that will be bringing a lot of attention to the Memphis Grizzlies. And hopefully those extra eyes will also be looking at Jaren. If I'm being honest, it's not even about him being underrated, I just really wanted to talk about this guy. So anyways, that's the end of this video. Go check out the 2 guys that I linked in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.